Throughout my experience in driving, I've realized that there's a big difference between driving to actually get your license versus driving on the real road. Like, if I went and retook my driver's test, I would 100% fail. Not because I don't know how to drive, but because driving etiquette on the road is so different from what people teach you. When taking your driver's test, you have to go exactly the speed limit or else you fail. But if you do that on the highway, you will be flashed a million times by a lifted Ford F-150 that has literally nowhere to be. This leads me to my first pet peeve. Fast lane hoggers. There's two different people who camp the fast lane. The first is the NPC driver in a family SUV who drives exactly 79 in an 80, holding up 10 people behind. While the other decides to stay in the fast lane at around 5 over, but won't let anyone pass. I swear to God, I was driving around in my little 1999 NB Miata the other week, and I'm cruising in the fast lane. I start to come up to this big Chevy that's probably about double the size of my car, who's maybe going like 85 in an 80. So I wait, because maybe they'll change lanes and let me pass. But no. So whatever. I sigh and change lanes to the next one to pass this guy myself. But you know what this guy does? He speeds up. Professional rage baiter over there because, dude, I end up just cutting through some other lanes to get past him, but still, I just don't understand these big trucks and their egos. I mean, to be fair, if I had a big truck, I probably wouldn't want to be passed by a little car with a tongue on it either. Slow turners. I know. I mentioned earlier I had a little Miata, which, if you didn't know, absolutely sends it around corners. But still, there cannot be a reason for turning around a corner at a solid 2 kilometers an hour. Like, guys, I assure you, your car will not flip if it turns over the speed of 5. This is especially annoying when you're like on a main single lane road. I work in a pretty condensed area where roads usually average around the 40 to 60 kilometers mark, which isn't super fast, but when you need to slow down from 60 to 5, it's incredibly annoying. And just out of respect for people behind me, I usually tend to take full advantage of my little car and take my turns faster. However, I think the absolute worst for people who turn slow is when you're making both a protected and unprotected left turn. If it's a green arrow and you're turning this corner slow, thank you, bro. You just let 2 people through and now we all have to wait another 5 minutes for another arrow to show up. Especially when it's an arrow that you can only turn when it's flashing. Please, guys, ride the bumper of the person in front of you. That way more people can make it through. Okay, next. New drivers. This one's pretty unavoidable because everyone is a new driver at some point, but that doesn't mean they can't piss me off. Usually there's 2 types of new drivers. The one that's absolutely terrified of even stepping near a gas pedal, and then the person that's definitely way too confident for someone who got their license a week ago. I can't even lie, I used to be the first one. Like, I hated driving. For the first 5 months of driving, I avoided highways altogether. And in my city, we have our highways which have a speed limit of 100 kilometers, and then there's the white mud, which doesn't technically count as a highway, but in my mind, 80 kilometers is basically 100 kilometers. And both of those were super scary for little old me when I first started driving. And in order to get to my work, which is on the other side of the city, I have to take the white mud. It's the fastest, uses less gas, and it's so much easier. But fast equaled scary when I was a learner. Meaning, instead of a 20 to 25 minute drive to work, it turned into a 30 to 35 minute drive through tighter and more condensed roads. Yeah, I wasn't smart. However, this type of new driver, in my opinion, are much better than the other. The other type of new driver will genuinely barely pass the road test, then hop in their 2006 minivan their mom gave them and genuinely drive that shit like it's a Formula 1 race car. The other week, I was out with my friends and we were all baked as hell. We decided to go for a walk and somehow ended up seeing one of our friends that had just got his license like a week prior, and he was driving his cute little Toyota Yaris. By the way, I love these cars so much. They're kind of fast too. Anyways, all 5 of us squish in the back of this car and ask him if he can take us to the store. This car ride had to be one of the top 10 scariest experiences I've ever had because this man genuinely drove this car like he was in a sports car on a track, thinking he had the experience of someone who had been driving for 15 years. All I remember is us taking a ramp in this car. I don't even know how fast we were going, but we genuinely had to lean on the side so we wouldn't flip. Since we were all fried as hell, this car ride was a full-on fever dream, and I just teleported through the road, regaining consciousness every time he almost crashed. This is the kind of driver that gets too confident in their skills and ends up crashing into someone on the road. Please, if you're a new driver, don't drive crazy. I know it's fun having this newfound freedom, but it's really not worth putting someone else's life in danger for 5 seconds of adrenaline. I am a bit of a hypocrite for saying this because I've had my fair share of risky drives. However, I've been driving for longer and I always make sure to underestimate my skills all of the time. So that's everything for my road pet peeves. I do have some more pet peeves I'm cooking up. Let me know if you want to see anything like this again, and I can start posting more stuff like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Toodles!